Okay. So again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today at the Esade Impact Talk. Today on intermediaries that support impact. My name is Dalia Silberstein. I'm the manager of the Social Impact Lab and the Impact Community at the Esade Center for Social Impact. So the Esade Impact Talks are a series of 5 talks. This is the number 4. I will share with you just a couple minutes. Okay. Just a minute, please. Okay, so this is the number 4, as I said, and the organizers of the Impact Talks are Esade Careers, Esade Center for Social Impact, Esade Alumni, and Esade Sud. So we are a couple of people and organizations within Esade. And today we have this great panel moderated by Sonia Navarro. Sonia is Associate Director at the Esade Institute for Social Innovation. And we have Betsy Espinoza, at Credit and Sustainability Specialist at Symbiotics. Alex de la Torre, Manager Europe and Latin America, Changemaker Finance in Spain. And Gianluca Gaggiotti, a research manager at EVPA. So just for you to know, the upcoming next Impact Talk will be next week, March 17th at 5, and it's impact from the public sector. So please remember to sign up. Okay, so now, Sonia, the floor is yours. Please, happy to.
Thank you, Dalia. Thank you, and thank you everyone to join in this afternoon. We are going to start by asking our guest speakers could you please introduce yourselves, a bit of your background and how you came to the positions that you are currently holding. Who wants to start?
Well, yeah, so,
yes.
so I can start. Hi, hello, well, my name is Betsy. I'm Peruvian, and I joined Symbiotics 5 years ago already. And the last 4 years, I was investment analyst in Mexico, managing the accounts, our investments in Peru, in Paraguay, Guatemala, and Colombia. And actually now, recently, I joined the portfolio team as a credit and sustainability specialist for a new fund that we are about to launch. And this, well, I'm in charge of the credit analysis of potential investment opportunities and also the assessment of ESG risk, environmental, social, and governance risk, and also for impact monitoring.
Thank you, Betsy. And you studied the MBA?
Yes, I did the MBA, and I'm the class 2017.
And previously, what was your background?
I studied business management in Peru. That's my degree, and then I decided to join Esade for the MBA.
Beautiful, thank you. Who wants to continue? Alex, Gianluca. Gianluca.
If you want, I can go next. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gianluca, and I work as a research manager at EVPA. I joined EVPA back in 2017 as an intern, actually, working at our biannual data collection on what we call the Investing for Impact market in Europe, a survey and a study that was initiated by Lisa Hehenberger, who now works at Esade, and maybe some of you know. And since then, I kind of changed a bit my position. I've always been involved into the research activities, but now I cover a lot of research projects within EVPA. I coordinate the work on impact measurement and management. Again, I coordinate the work on data collection in the field, and I'm really looking forward to the panel today. My background is in economics. I wish I was an alumni from Esade. I was telling also Sonia and Dalia, but I didn't study in Esade, unfortunately, in Barcelona. but I love the city. I've visited many times. And yeah, my background is in economics, basically.
Thank you. And now, Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex de la Torre, and I worked at Ashoka. I've been with Ashoka for 4 years now. I spent the first 2 years working as a finance director in Spain. And now I lead the Changemaker Finance program, where we support our leading social entrepreneurs in accessing to different sources of finance. Before Ashoka, I used to work as an economic consultant. I worked at KPMG in Spain and Singapore, and also at Thomson Reuters in the UK. And my background is in law. I studied law in Barcelona. I did a master's in Esade in tax and accounting. So yeah, as you can imagine, I decided to shift my career and turn a consultant for social entrepreneurs, which I'm now, and very happy with very happy to be with you today.
That's great. Thank you, Alex. So my next question, Alex, you started to answer it again, but it's to understand what type of impact are you generating from each organization in this ecosystem of impact investment, and to whom? No, who are your the people you are helping? In your case, is the entrepreneurs that have already been appointed as Ashoka Fellows, I understand, and they need extra needs, but maybe you can explain a little bit, and then we
Sure.
can hear from your colleagues.
Yeah, so the ones that hopefully get that impact are social entrepreneurs from our network, the Ashoka Fellows, but also other social entrepreneurs that we include in our programs. So not all of them are Ashoka Fellows, and the specific support we give them is really on investment readiness. So we make sure we help social entrepreneurs in the path of looking for investment to really understand what are the implications of looking for investment. But we also support social entrepreneurs that are looking for other types of finance. So we not exclusively work with social entrepreneurs looking for equity or debt. We also help all the type of funding, such as fundraising of grants, crowdfunding campaigns, or even sponsorship campaigns. And we have a lot of experience in helping social entrepreneurs to build hybrid models. So social entrepreneurs that started a non-profit organizations, and because of some of the project, they feel the need of starting a for-profit organization, all under the same umbrella, under the same mission, and making sure that they're like all the mechanisms to make sure that the mission is locked. So we have quite a lot of examples of social entrepreneurs that are working with these hybrid models. And at the end of the day, we support them so that they can scale their impact by using these models and by accessing to these different types of finance.
Excellent. And Betsy, I understand you are also supporting entrepreneurs. Could you explain us a bit more what Symbiotics does in
Yes.
in which regions, which type of support
Yeah.
you provide?
So we basically we finance financial institutions in emerging and frontier markets. And what our focus is on the bottom of the pyramid, and how we reach the bottom of the pyramid is like by financing these financial institutions that they will grant loans to micro enterprises or small medium enterprises. So in this way, we support like small businesses that can expand, can create jobs, or it can give opportunities also to women. Also financial institutions that are target that work on rural communities, or well, as I mentioned, also frontier markets where they actually need financial resources.
And in which countries will that be?
So yeah, we are in different countries, but I mean we're in Latin America, in Asia, we are in Eastern Europe as well, we are in Africa. So yes, but especially in emerging and frontier countries. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And Gianluca, a bit to understand, like, what's your role in supporting this type of investments to entrepreneurs, or how do you work?
So I think we are really similar as an organization in the way of functioning as what Alex said. For the social enterprises, we do somehow the same, but for impact investors and foundations and engagement makers. So we really are at the crossroads, we say, between philanthropy and investment. And we envision a world in which they combine to drive societal impact. And our mission is then to help our community maximize their impact through increased resources, through collaborations, and knowledge sharing and expertise. So our community is composed mainly of capital providers. So we are talking about supply side of impact capital. And we were originally founded 18 years ago. By foundations that wanted to be a bit more strategic in the way in which they were providing and giving away their grants, as well as by impact funds, so those private equity venture capital professionals that wanted to apply the principles of venture capital to the impact ecosystem. But obviously that was 18 years ago, and since then the ecosystem evolved. A lot of other capital providers were really interested into this investment approach, which is patient, long-term oriented, high-risk taking, and so there are emerging organizations such as crowdfunding platforms were mentioned before, as well as financial institutions and also some incubators and accelerators that are providing capital, adopting this approach. So in that respect, we're broad church, let's say.
Thank you. So EVPA, you are a network, no? And you are supporting this ecosystem, like, well, we were talking before, like with your events, but also with knowledge, no, with the research you do, and as well as connecting different parts of the ecosystem. And Ashoka is doing this as well with the entrepreneurs ecosystem. And I was mentioning before with Alex that, for example, now with what's happening in Ukraine, it's amazing what the network of entrepreneurs in Poland are doing, not trying to connect resources with needs and organizing among themselves. So why, that's a question for Betsy. Why are microcredits and microfinancing so important in the impact environment?
Yeah, it is important because for families, for example, or like or micro enterprises that are run by families most of the time, they lack of working capital most of the time, and they don't have a collateral to go to a bank and ask for a loan. So how it works for microfinancing is that it's another way to assess the credit risk. So actually you have to know a bit more the business, the family, you have to cross-check information to actually give a loan. And of course, this loan will be like a very like maybe $1,000 or $2,000, and then that will help the family to grow the business, right? And if the business is growing, so then we have impact on the family, and maybe impact also in the education of the children, or maybe also if this business grows more, like it could generate a job. So we believe like it's like more a multiplier effect if we grant a loan to these micro enterprises, and then this micro enterprise will be at some point as a more medium enterprise, and then it will you will have more impact there. So that's why it's so important, microfinance.
Yes, particularly in emerging countries,
yeah.
It's very, very important. And I would like to understand, like, how close do you need to get or understand the people who you are gonna finance, or the entrepreneurs? No, I know a bit the process of Ashoka here in Europe. It's a long process, not to select like Ashoka fellows, so entrepreneurs that get into the network. And I will imagine in your case, Betsy, is the same. I don't know if you and Alex could tell us a bit more about this process. How close do you get to these people before you?
Yeah, for us, we don't finance directly to the enterprises. We finance the financial institutions. So it could be cooperatives, it could be NGOs, it could be a small banks. So, but we have to be sure that these institutions are targeting the bottom of the pyramid, or they are, for example, targeting small, medium enterprises, or they are granting educational loans or housing loans. So we have to make sure that these companies are targeting the market that we want, and then where we want to make an impact. And that's why also we choose emerging markets, so we have a greater impact. Yes.
And in Ashoka's case?
Well, yeah, we do select social entrepreneurs, and it's a very long process. Just to give you a sense, in Spain, we normally get around 400 nominations, and most of the most quality nominations, and thanks to venture boards like the one that you're part of, Sonia, and maybe around 20 are really like assessed very carefully. It takes about a year, and only 3 to 5, I would say, are selected every year. There's a criteria, but what I would probably emphasize, we first of all make sure that there's an innovative idea with a system change approach. That is really identifying the root of the problem, and we try to see a personal connection between the social entrepreneur and the problem. So to your question, how Ashoka, how Ashoka gets really close to the social entrepreneurs. I mean, it's really close, really personal. It takes a lot of time. We try to tell them that it's something that would be beneficial for them as well to pass this process, but it's quite tough as well, and that is only because it's very specific what we are looking for, which is this systems change, innovative ideas, which is not easy to find.
Yes, this I know it's a word you've been using for years, but now it's kind of starting to be more common, no? Like also in the classroom, we're trying to bring these concepts of systems thinking, systems change. I just want to mention, if anyone has a question that wants to put in the chat while we're talking, so we can answer it afterwards, please do not hesitate. Okay, so to continue, a question for Gianluca. Maybe it will be helpful if you could provide us some examples of how EVPA is assisting the community of investors and their social investment and grant making efforts. So I don't know if you have an example in mind.
Definitely. So I would like to mention 3, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. So in general, as a network, we provide 3 main services, I would say. First of all, we provide knowledge and reliable data on the status of the impact, the supply capital of impact finance. Then that knowledge also translates into capacity building programs offered through our training academy for investors. As Sonia mentioned before, we also facilitate connections and collaborations. We are always referred to as a knowledgeable convener. So we try really to enhance peer sharing and peer learning on different topics, also systemic change that was mentioned before. And we also function, let's say, as a bridge between practitioners, investors, and institutions. So we always have this lens of looking at institutions, European institutions, and function as a bridge. But to answer your question, Sonia, I think there's 3 examples that I'd like to mention. First of all, a very important collaboration that we launched yesterday, in which also Esade is involved. It's the European Impact Investment Consortium. It's a consortium of leading networks and stakeholders in the impact ecosystem that really gathered forces and joined the effort to provide reliable and comparable data on impact investment in Europe. As you may know, we lack still an estimate of the market, of the impact investment market in Europe. And through this collaboration, we're really committed. We gathered the main stakeholders, and we're committed to provide a set of comparable data that can inform not just the investors, but the whole ecosystem. Then I'd like to mention the work we are doing on impact measurement and management. So this is one of the key practices of our community of investors, and the focus is specifically on impact management. So we have identified a series of topics that we believe are very important nowadays in the debate, but we see the risk of large investors joining the impact ecosystem from the ESG side of investments, saying that they, that they have the resources, they have money to really influence the debate. But we, as the repository of knowledge and expertise of those smaller investors, but that has been active in measuring and managing impact since 15 years now, we feel the duty of make the voice of our community heard, especially when it comes to managing impact, which is really leveraging the impact data collected to drive decision making and maximize impact, and also adopt this system lens that was mentioned before. And last but not least, very quickly, we also have a stream of work on additionality. You may have heard of the 3 criteria: intentionality, measurability, and additionality, to define a bit and segment the different impact investment strategies. And we believe there is still great work to do on defining additionality and understanding what it means in practice to be an investor that seeks an additional impact rather than just an intentional and measurable one. And yeah, for more information, obviously, I'll share some links and I'll spam you on the chat at the end of the meeting.
Yes, that would be great. This concept of additionality, I think, is not very well known. So it would be great if you could share some links with us about all these initiatives. We've learned that there is a new regulation in the EU imposing certain requirements on the financial markets that is called Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation. Could maybe Betsy, could you tell us a bit more about this regulation?
Yes, this is an effort from the regulator to have more transparency on the market, right? Because we want to avoid greenwashing, and there are many funds that are called sustainable, and sometimes they are not. So the regulator is putting some requirements. So when you can say that you're a sustainable or not sustainable fund, and there is also like a level for sustainable funds. So for example, there are some funds that would be like, they are promoting sustainable investment, but not necessarily like have the indicators of or maybe they don't take into account the ESG risk, or they don't look for an impact directly. So that will be called like a light green kind of fund. But for example, for dark green, and then for this kind of funds, you have to take into account for investment decisions. You have to take into account ESG risk, so risk for environment, social, and governance, and also you have to have objectives about impact. What is your objective in terms of impact? Like you have to have some KPIs as well, and then this will be also part of your investment decision. And then this will be also disclosed on websites or in the prospectus on the fund, also for the investors to have a look on what the fund looking for in terms of impact, how they are taking the decision, so they can compare across funds. And then this is a way also for like have more transparency in the market, which I think it's very good, but also is very challenging for us.
Okay, but I think, yeah, it sounds like really interesting, no, that there are more tools in place to ensure transparency and that there is no greenwashing in, well, not greenwashing or in this field as well. So now we will go more into kind of skills and competencies for this type of jobs that I think it's probably very interesting for some of the people who joined us today. So, for example, Gianluca, could you tell us about the talent trends in the impact investing sector that you can perceive from your position?
Definitely, I'd be happy to do so. And last year, I should mention, we engaged in a collaboration with Russell Reynolds, and we published a research on talent trends in the impact investing industry. And I'd like to just present you what were the key insights of this research. I won't go in depth into it because I'll share the link to the research. But basically, what we found out is that, first of all, it seems to be the impact investing industry a more diverse industry, both in terms of gender equality, but also on the focus of having a diverse team. So compared to the traditional financial industry, it seems to be a bit more diverse. Then another trend that is emerging is that there's a lot of resources in leadership position have a mixed background. Is they blend with experience in the financial sector as well as in the non-profit. It seems to be a very recognized, let's say, characteristics and element for talents. And finally, I think another interesting result is that investment managers are required more and more to understand both financial and impact dimensions of a business. And there were, like in the past, different experts, let's say, dealing with these two dimensions, and it seems that talents that can somehow blend knowledge both on the financial and the impact side of the business are recognized.
Very interesting. If you could share as well this, if there is a link to this report, I think that would be great.
In the chat.
Thank
you, Dalia.
Excellent. Thank you, Dalia. So one more question in that sense. How important is to have a field experience in this sector, particularly in your case, Betsy, that you are working with different type of countries, environments? How do you?
Yeah, I think well, it depends a lot where in which position you want to work, but in overall, I believe that groundwork is key, because in that way you actually can touch or see like the needs of these vulnerable communities or the markets, what the specificities of the market. You can also propose solutions for these needs. You can assess the risk as well if you are working for investors. I mean, to assess the risk and then also to monitor the impact, how you can monitor the impact. If you don't have this this experience on the ground, it could be a bit difficult, and I think it's much better if you have a glance of how the market how the market is behaving, and then for that for you to contribute to the business, and then to
And same question for Gianluca or Alex. Would you like to add something like what's your experience like ground experience in the field has been important in your role?
Definitely yes. It's not I would say it's more a nice to have than a must have, but especially I think it's more something personal, more something that helps you to really know whether you want to take that step of like shifting your career or really starting a career in social impact. Of course, it helps you to have more perspective and understand how social entrepreneurs are working in the field. So yeah, I would say it's actually quite common that pretty much all of us have had some field experiences, and not necessarily like as a full-time job. But I personally combined my time working at KPMG, spending 1 month of my vacation going to, like grassroots NGOs, and this helped me more to realize that I wanted to really like focus my career on this sector. So and yes, I assume it's being valued, but yeah, it's one of the things that I would say is very good to have.
And just to echo what Alex just said, I think from my position, so we are a network of investors. It means that the impact that gets generated is very far from where the level we work on. So it's quite important, I would say, to have some experiences on the field that can really make you understand and grasp also what we're talking about when you're talking about impact. And I think often I must say that field experience get underestimated. I think there should be more connections between organizations active in the investment side and organization active in the field, because sometimes what we often say is also a matter of challenging a bit the status quo and the power imbalance that still lies between investors that take decisions in their offices that are too often far away from where impact gets generated. So we are valuing it very much. Often it gets underestimated, but I pose personally, as Alex said, a huge importance to field experience.
I guess this is important in any financial market, but particularly when we speak about impact investment, not to lose the contact with the ground, or with the final beneficiaries. So let's see. One more question about talent. It's what do you think are the main entry opportunities for young talents willing to join the impact ecosystem? So like someone like just coming out from an MBA or university, like which are the first positions that you think they can look for? Gianluca.
Should I start? Okay, so
Yeah.
I think there's a growing range of opportunities, to be honest, for young talents that wants to be involved in the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they're entrepreneurs, I would say Ashoka is a great opportunity. But apart from the fact that the selection process is very tough, as Alex just said, I think there's a whole range of opportunities. First of all, for young talents that wants to become entrepreneurs, there are a lot of accelerators and incubators programs that can help you develop your idea, your business, with a strong focus on impact. We published a report a couple of years ago on incubators and accelerators that have a specific focus on impact, and I'll share the link again in the chat in case you would be interested in learning more about a list of these institutions around Europe. Then there are opportunities, obviously, at the investor level. So there are a lot of impact investors, as well as foundations and other institutions that are looking for entry-level resources, either as project managers or investment managers, but also more and more often I see vacancies on impact evaluators, or really valuing the impact expertise, let's say. Then there's and I think Alex there could say a bit more, but there's a growing range of social enterprises that are growing and publishing vacancies, and I think also an experience within a social enterprise that is growing, maybe at startup stage, could be very, very valuable as a first or second experience. And then I've collected throughout the years, let's see, a series of intermediaries that are posting job opportunities for talents, and I'll share it in the chat as well. I think this is really personal information I've collected, but it could be helpful for you to navigate a bit, because apart from LinkedIn, there's no like a centralized platform, or at least as far as I know, that really shows all the work opportunities in the ecosystem. And last but not least, I think there's also a wide range of free courses if you're really interested in learning more about impact measurement and management, for example, but other impact related topic. On Coursera, I'd like to signal you a course that has been recently published by Kathy Clark from Duke University on SDG impact standards. It's for free. The content is really great, and I think for young talents that wants to build a career within the ecosystem, those are very useful resources.
Wow, Gianluca, I'm impressed. You are really a source of knowledge. It would be wonderful if you can share all this information with us. And Alex,
Yeah. So I totally agree with Gianluca. There are really good resources out there if you want to prepare yourself to be a good candidate for a social organization, or like even if it's a social enterprise or an institutional organization. In the case of Ashoka, it's not easy. Like, we are not a very big team. We are in different countries, but the teams are growing not very fast. However, it's true that especially for young people that are very proactive, and I like to highlight that word, very proactive, like that they because we really value entrepreneurship inside of Ashoka. So people that comes and proposes to lead a program, actually that can be a good way. And same happens for the organizations of our fellows. So usually these are organizations that are overwhelmed and they don't even have time to think about I don't know, like sometimes they struggle to understand how they should grow, and someone proactive is for me it's very valued in all these type of organizations.
Wonderful. Betsy, I don't know if you want to mention something.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you still have the SUD program, because this program in Esade that I participate while I was in the MBA is about to offer your services or your your experience to social enterprises, and usually these enterprises are in emerging markets. Like, I had the opportunity to do an internship in India for a social enterprise there in Delhi, and that gives you, for example, a good experience in the field, right? And that also gets in touch with a network. You learn a lot, and then as we mentioned, like, you are actually in contact with the communities, and then you can also find opportunities there, and then that also is very good for your experience in overall. So and I think there's a lot of opportunities to have like that, not only in Esade but maybe in other institutions, like kind of like a pro bono work, and that could be a good way also to enter to the sector, and then with that to jump to a full-time position, maybe to another company, and with this experience, I think that's also valuable.
Thank you. You mentioned the SUD program.
Yes, the SUD program.
Yes. SUD is one of the, maybe Dalia can tell us more, but is one of the co-organizers of these impact talks.
Yeah.
Is SUD and Esade Alumni, they have also this social program to collaborate with NGOs. And then where Dalia is involved, the Impact Center, Social Impact Center. So only in Esade there are a few places where
I think that's a good program. I really like it, and yeah, that's a good way to start. I mean, to get in the sector. Yeah, I think so.
Wonderful. And before we give the floor to all the questions to everyone, one last question for the three of you. Like if you had to say which are the key skills and competencies, like the must-have skills that someone needs to have or competencies to work in that sector, which ones would you say they are? You can say a couple.
Following on what I just said, really to be proactive and show this entrepreneurship within your organization. So you don't need to be really the entrepreneur. It's more like to come up with ideas, and it's a very different ecosystem than I would say traditional corporates. And then I would also highlight very good interpersonal skills, as it's a world where to collaborate. It's so important, and to be able to have good interpersonal skills, I think it helps you a lot on your daily job.
Thank you. Gianluca.
And to be, sorry, Betsy, but just because it's very similar to what Alex just said, I think really being flexible. If you work in the impact ecosystem, probably you have to deal with like very different stakeholders. You might find yourself in the same room and facilitating a conversation between the public sector and investors, and those two stakeholders speak a very different language. So being flexible, the capacity to adapt, and also try to make different stakeholders understand each other, I think is crucial in the impact ecosystem. And then just a second one, but echoing what I said before, I think impact knowledge in general, really learning how to measure and manage impact, I think that's definitely a plus, and it will become more and more important.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Betsy, for...
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. And actually, yeah, I agree with flexibility, because yeah, the sector is, yeah, I mean, it's a bit new, right? And it's changing a lot, and it's not traditional as like a traditional corporation. So yeah, actually that business, it's like moves really fast, and then there's a lot of challenges, so you have to be flexible. And the other skill that I would say is the cooperation, because people that work on the sector, actually they are there to have an impact, so they are very eager to work together. So when you are in an event, or even if you are talking with someone, and then to find a way to cooperate together, and like how to connect people and do networking, and try to find new solutions or new opportunities. I mean, that's also a key to be in the sector, and then, yeah, to learn a bit more as well. I think that's key.
Excellent, thank you. So let's go with the questions. There was already one in the chat when we were talking about systems change from Juan Nicolas. He was asking, could you please give some more details on the notion of systems change you use? And then will it be possible to know a bit more about how the three panelist institutions define and measure impact? Maybe systems change, maybe that's a question for you, Alex. And very briefly, if you could then mention how you define and measure impact, would be great.
Sure. I mean, I'll try not to overcomplicate it. To me, system change, it's really being able to identify the root causes of a problem and do something different to solve that problem. And to me, the best example are our Ashoka fellows. So one that I always use, here we have in Spain an amazing social entrepreneur that identified a new way of identifying malaria using gamification. So that would be a good example. He has found a new revolutionary way of doing something in a much effective and cheap way. So that would be the unique insight that has identified the roots of the problem, and it's a system change approach. Impact measurement. Well, we have just launched a survey based on, I don't know how many interviews, how many Ashoka fellows were interviewed, but that report is public, and we really evaluate the support that we give to fellows, as we consider ourselves an organization of indirect impact. So I can share the link, but it really focuses on how fellows have been able to increase their impact thanks to the support of Ashoka with the program, with the network, and everything that we do.
Gianluca or Betsy, would you like to comment on what is impact and how you measure? Gianluca? Or...
Betsy, go ahead.
Well, in our case, for example, to measure the impact, we have different KPIs, or like it depends which SDG, like Sustainable Development Goal, we want to target. So, for example, if we are looking for gender equality, so we will look for how many women borrowers the institution has, or, for example, how many jobs are being created, and we will also how many enterprises we are financing with a loan, and if it's education as well. Look, we will have different KPIs that we will ask for the financial institutions to report to us, and then we will report that to investors. So that's, in that way, there is a transparency, and then you can actually see where is your money going and what's the impact you are having for each SDG in this case. So that's a way to monitor and to reflect.
So in your case, you're related to the SDGs, and then the measurement is tailored to the program, no? That you are financing.
Yes. It depends where if the fund, which SDG is targeting. Like, for example, SDG 1 will be no poverty, so maybe it's access to financial services. So, okay, how many people are having access to loans, for example? So you have to know like how many enterprises, how many people, even families could be, if you have the information. It's difficult anyway to have the information, but it's a way to show the impact for us. Yeah.
Very nice. Gianluca.
And just to conclude, I must say that most of our efforts have been directed towards helping and supporting peer sharing and knowledge sharing among our investors about how they can better measure and manage impact. But we also have an impact measurement and management system in place as EVPA, and that's what we also preach. Let's say we try to identify those outcomes that we really, those changes that we really want to affect and be somehow responsible for, and we try to measure them through data and other surveys and other types of impact data that we collect. So we select some KPIs together with our community. We try to focus and identify those that are most relevant for our work, and then we try to monitor them and learn from them as well throughout the years to develop our strategy.
Okay, someone wants to take the voice, wants to, here, I see a hand raise, and then maybe Angelica's question on the chat, or Angelica, you can also speak up and tell us your question if you prefer. But Monica, you raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. So after Russia invaded Ukraine, I have been seeing in the news that some investors are discussing about investments on defense and on weapons, and whether this can be considered an investment with a social impact, given that now Ukraine needs these weapons to defend its people and its country. And I have seen like a few articles on this with opposite views. And if possible, I would like to listen to your thoughts on this discussion.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough, but in our case, we have an exclusion list, right? So, and in the exclusion list, it mentions that we don't finance weapons or any type of weapons, and there is a exclusion list like also for other types of like tobacco, for example, or gambling. But yeah, this exclusion list is also shared with in the impact industry. Like for example, the World Bank has the same exclusion list, the IFC has the same exclusion list, and yeah, so it will be a bit like a bit weird, like saying that financing weapons will be a way to have a positive impact. But yeah.
Well,
or Alex, do you want to comment? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, to me, you can even argue. Well, it's even difficult to argue whether this kind of investment has a negative impact. I mean, to someone that can argue that this has a positive impact, to me, it's very, very difficult to understand. And I don't know, talking about systemic change, like investing in weapons for a war conflict, I don't see anything that can be systemic there in solving an issue. So in these articles, I'll be very curious to see who's really the one defending the position of these as having impact, because it's a very different definition of impact then.
Angelica, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my question has to do a lot with what I'm doing right now. I'm currently working on an impact investment firm as an analyst. I recently graduated from business and economics. And what I've seen from my coworkers and my bosses and a lot of people that I meet in this industry is that a lot of them have previous experience in consulting or investment banking or other traditional financial institutions, but they know a lot and have a lot of experience, and they bring that knowledge into the impact investment environment. So my doubt is whether should we start working in a financial institution or investment banking in order to get like a deeper knowledge on financial and then move into impact investing, or it's fine starting here as well, because I have friends working in impact investing and in investment banking, and the pace of learning there, it's amazing, and I would like to do that as well. And my coworkers, they have been in consulting firms or investment banking, and I would like to know as much as them as well. But yeah, that's basically my question. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm. Who can answer that?
I can maybe give a first shot, and I'll leave the floor. But very quickly, I think, Angelica, what you have observed within your experience probably is due to the fact that there weren't many entry-level positions for impact investment. I think it has been quite of a recent movement. So a lot of professionals, of course, come from other environments such as consultancy, because there weren't so many opportunities for them back then to already start in the industry. But an important but, that's my personal view, you should be driven by learning, to me, especially at the beginning. So if you feel that you're not really learning much in the position you are from the impact investment firms that you're working with, then maybe that's a signal that you need to change. I don't know whether towards consultancy or other, but I think that's the key element that should drive your decision making, in my personal opinion, obviously.
That's fair enough. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We have 4 or 5 minutes left. Or Dalia, what do you need some time for the closing? Or can we take one more question?
Yeah, you can take one more question. There is.
So let's see. Who else has one more question? I think there was one more. It was quite concrete about Victor Medina. Not sure.
Hi, yes.
Hi.
So yeah, I think it was already sort of covered, but I was wondering if you have, I mean, the panelists had identified any NGO or perhaps a startup which can help us to grab some experience or ground experience, as you were mentioning, that this was a good way to start getting into this this field or this sector. And this question is particularly if there is any located here in Barcelona.
Related with impact investment, I understand. No, Victor?
Yeah, or social impact.
Or social impact. I don't know if the speaker...
Yeah, I was just checking
Yes.
the name, but yes, for example, there is one that is very interesting, Ship2B. I think, I don't know if you know the company. Yeah, I was in touch with them like a long time ago when I was in Esade, and they are doing a lot with social enterprises. Like I think they do mentoring as well, and also they could give also seed capital, I think. Yeah, I'm not like, I don't have updates, actually. I don't follow that much, but I know that, for example, they take interns or they take consultants and from Esade as well, and they are very close to Esade, I think, so that could be a way also to, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna mention Ship2B. Actually, the founders met here in Esade in the Institute of for Social Entrepreneurship in a project, and then they started Ship2B. So, and they've grown a lot since then. They've done a good job. There's one more question from Juan Nicolas. Question for Betsy. Do you support companies, entities around the notion of social change? For example, working on issues related to civic engagement, democratization, or good public governance accountability, for instance?
Yeah, no, we don't know, not necessarily. Yeah, no, but something that we for sure take into account is how governance is a structure, and we look to invest in companies that have a good governance standards, but it's not like yeah, it's not part of the our investment restrictions or what we want to target is not part of it. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are right on time. Maybe Dalia needs a few seconds to close, or a few minutes.
Yeah, so just thank you, first of all, to the speakers. Thank you for all the learnings, insights. It was a great talk. Thank you, Sonia, for your great moderation. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.